Here's a question that's going to mess with your head. A couple in Canada brings home $120,000 combined. Are they rich? Most people hear that number and think fine, normal, maybe even a little tight if they're in Toronto or Vancouver. But that couple sits at the exact statistical middle of this country. Half of Canada earns less than them, which means what feels ordinary is already better than 50% of every person living here. So if normal feels this hard, what does rich actually look like? And more importantly, are you already there without knowing it? This matters right now because Canada is going through a quiet wealth reckoning. Interest rates crushed purchasing power, housing became a generational divide, and inflation made everyone feel poorer even as net worths climbed. The result? A country full of people who are objectively doing well but feel like they're falling behind. That feeling isn't an accident. It's what happens when your reference point is your neighbor's renovation and your colleague's leased BMW, not the actual data. So let's use the actual data. Statistics Canada, the CRA, Global Wealth Reports. By the end of this, you'll know precisely where you stand. Maybe my bet is the number surprises you. Let's start with income because this is where most people's self-assessment completely breaks down. The median individual income in Canada in 2023 was $44,200. That's the middle, one person above, one person below for every single Canadian. If you're a full-time worker, the average annual earnings land around $66,500. Already, most people reading a pay stub above that number are doing better than they realize. Now here's where it gets interesting. To crack the top 10% of individual earners in Canada, you need roughly $126,000 a year. That's it. Six figures doesn't make you comfortable in this country, it puts you ahead of 90% of the population. Let that land for a second. If you're earning 100 grand, you've already left 85% of Canada behind. Not most people, 85%, top 5%. That threshold sits at approximately $162,000. And the number that dominates every political debate, the top 1%, requires around $316,000 in total income. The average inside that group is $512,000. These people earn about 11.5% of all income in the country while paying roughly a quarter of all federal taxes. And here's the detail that almost nobody mentions: those thresholds shift dramatically by province. In Alberta, fueled by oil money, the top 1% floor pushes past $460,000. In New Brunswick, it's closer to $250,000. Same country, completely different goalposts. One more number before we move on. Only 3.5% of individual Canadians, about 1 in every 28 workers, earns $200,000 or more. If that's you, you're not comfortable. By any statistical definition, you are wealthy in this country. Full stop. Here's Canada's biggest financial secret, and most people completely miss it. Income is not wealth. Picture a 34-year-old in downtown Toronto pulling $140,000 a year. Impressive on paper, but after taxes, $2,400 a month in rent, student loans, and childcare, there's almost nothing left. Now picture a retired couple in Moncton. They never earned more than $60,000 a year, but they paid off a modest house, maxed their RSPs and TFSAS every single year, and let compound interest run quietly in the background for 25 years. Their net worth? Comfortably past $1 million, same country, completely different financial reality. Net worth, everything you own minus everything you owe, is the real scoreboard. And the median Canadian family net worth in 2023 was $519,700. The average was $738,200, pulled upward by the wealthiest households. But here's where it fractures completely. Whether you own a home changes everything. Under 35, the median net worth for homeowners in that age group is $457,000. For renters the same age, $44,000. That's not a gap. That's a chasm, a 10-to-1 split in the same generation in the same economy. By 55 to 64, if you own your home and carry an employer pension, your median net worth sits at $1.4 million. If you rent and have no pension, $11,900. Same age, same country. $1.4 million versus $12,000. Real estate makes up 48% of all household assets in Canada. We've built a national wealth strategy on a single asset class. If you got in, you're wealthy. If you didn't, you're starting from nearly zero regardless of your salary. Here's what the data can't fully capture. There's a specific kind of quiet that comes with real financial security. Not the noise of a big income, the noise of wondering if it's enough, of lifestyle keeping pace with every raise, of spending Tuesday morning checking your portfolio because something feels off. Real wealth is the absence of the be at noise. The Moncton couple didn't feel rich during the accumulation years. They drove older cars. They skipped vacations some summers. And then one morning, they woke up and realized the number in their accounts meant no one could ever touch their life again. That's the finish line most high earners can see clearly, but keep moving further away by spending every cent the moment it arrives. The gap between your income and what you keep, that's the only race worth running. So here's the question I want you to sit with. If you stripped out your salary tomorrow, no income, just what you've built, how long could you live exactly the way you live right now? That number tells you more about your financial position than any pay stub ever will. Wealth is a discipline before it's a destination. If this reframes something for you, subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from, and the people in this community aren't here for generic advice. They're here to actually get ahead.